This is probably the worst job I have ever seen. And I've seen some bad jobs before. Look at this. Jesus. What were you using? A heated rod? You heated rod in the fire? And that's what you used as a soldering iron? Hello friends. Welcome back to the bench. Today we're going to take a look at this PS4 Slim. This is the first PS4 Slim I'm working on. The model is CUH1215A. And it's a little different because it only has 2 screws in the back as opposed to 4 screws on regular PS4 and I assume on PS4 Pro as well. But I've never done PS4 Pro either. What's wrong with it? I don't know until I replace the HDMI connector. But when I turn it on, it seems to be working just fine. I hear it booting, and I think it's working. But this one, I don't know if you'll be able to see it. Focus. No, we're not gonna focus. Yeah. I'll see if I can do it with the microscope. But I looked at the connector. And normally you see pins pushed in or ripped out. You can see the damage to the connector. This one, I looked at the connector and I see no pins missing, no pins pushed in, no pins misplaced or bent or anything. So I connected the monitor and nothing is happening. Then I looked a little closer and you can kind of see it. Let me see if I'll be able to actually show you. No, I probably won't. But you can kind of see the board inside and the connector appears to be ripped. So this is likely what we have going on with this one. So let's disassemble it quickly and dig out the board and see what we can do. Oh my god, this is so dusty. I see a few differences already. The drive is held differently. Okay, so that's what happened. The internals of this board were completely pushed out. That's why the pins detached from the board. Well, let's take it off and see what the damage is. Oh my god. This is probably the worst job I have ever seen. And I've seen some bad jobs before. Oh, this is just atrocious. Look at this. Jesus. What were you using? Heated rod? You heated rod in the fire? And, and that's what you used as a soldering iron? Oh my god. Let's see if there was damage to the board. Let's get some good wick. Let's wick it first. So I expect this was a leaded solder used here. Perhaps no flax, or maybe some crappy flax. And that's why this happened. There's plenty of like flax residue over here. Right, and here. And here. And oh, the neighbor port has been melted a bit. So yeah, someone really struggled with this. Well, it's a lot easier when you watch it being done on YouTube. It's a little harder when you gotta do it yourself. See, I don't even need to use hot air. Normally for this, when it's factory solder, I blow it with hot air. Here, I don't even have to do it because the solder is leaded. But there's plenty of it. Surprisingly, no components are missing. So it was awful job as far as the replacement of the connector, but at least no damage to the rest of the board. So that could have been a lot worse. Now the question is, how many pods are ripped? Just one pod. Can you believe it? I was expecting at least... Actually, I was expecting all of them to be ripped, maybe except ground, all the data lines, but it looks like only one data line was ripped. Let's remove the solder and see what we're working with. And the pod is still attached to the board, to the trace. Which is very good because I won't have to run the wires. Let's see the port. There was struggle. There was struggle. Okay, forget. I have quite a collection now of ripped HDMI ports. This diode, yeah, this diode's been moved. I don't know if I did that I didn't see before. Could be that I did that. Let's clean it up and see what we're working with. I really hope this wasn't another repair shop that did this. I do believe, or want to believe, that this was a DIY that went wrong, maybe first time. There is a possibility that, you know, the repair shop did it. It did work, right, for a while. Maybe it didn't look pretty, but the client doesn't see what the board looks like right after the repair. The customer just connects the HDMI cable and it either works or it doesn't. But the board was not cleaned. There's plenty of old flux left over everywhere. So this board was, look how far away from the port flux made it, all the way here. So this was just drowned in flux, and still the soldering turned out absolutely awful. I ordered plenty of new HDMIs from different sorts. Let's see if they align. According to you guys, the other one I was using was just crappy. That's why it was not aligning. So let's see if this one's any better. Oh, still some solder. That one's good. Now this one. And weird, because it looks like all the solder is gone. And there's tiny specks somewhere. And yes, I did see that diode that I knocked over. I'll fix it in a second. The pins are not aligning. Yeah, it's the same problem. Slightly missing. Yeah. So it's the same thing. I need to just I just kind of bend it from this side to this side, and that makes it align. So I don't know, it's not a horrible problem, but for some reason on PS5s I don't have that problem. I just ordered ports from the first guy I found and they align perfectly. And for PS4, for some reason, nope. This diode is not crucial for the function of this device, but I would like to keep it. But now the question is, it needs to go, because this is our supply, here, our supply line. Alright, so it needs to go, oh, for some reason there is, so this will be plus this ground. Alright, so the diode needs to go in reverse. If we put it in forward, and we're just gonna make a, well, basically a short, so it will not work. Switch to 70 liters because I'm at 120 liters, which is awesome because everything melts very quickly. But I burned myself, which resulted in this diode running away from me. Yep, that's the correct orientation. Alright, so I got lucky. Now let's confirm. Okay. Alright, so this is correct orientation of the diode. Now we just need to put it back where it belongs. Now going from the ground to the supply, I should have a diode reading 0.585. Yep. Okay. Alright, the diode is back where it belongs. And now this port. You see, slightly. So when I just put it like this, it aligns perfectly in between the pads. So it's only a matter of tiny adjustment to get it aligned properly. Now it's aligning okay. Not perfectly, but okay enough. Now let's see if the pins are sitting on. Now we just need to get it soldered on. So I've seen other repair shop on eBay listing this repair, and they obviously put the pictures of their work. And what I noticed is that they do not solder the top over here, right? These are not soldered. They're only soldered on the other side. Now, I believe that's not good because that's what holds the port, right? So, and there are two ways of doing it, easier and the harder one. I'm gonna use easier one. Basically, solder on this side first, and then solder on the back of the board. The harder way is to just solder on the back, then using the tip of the iron and hot air, just kind of melt it, and it'll naturally just go through the board and onto the other side. But using it is harder because it's very easy to just desolder the pins and basically move the port, so it's no longer making good connection over here, so it's going to be harder to solder. because you need to heat it up nicely for that solder to go through the board. So I think it's a little harder that way, but it produces better results in my view, at least visually. We got the first one. Now, let's see if we're still aligned. We are still perfectly aligned. And let's see if we're still flush on the board. So what I do, I just push the pins down and see if they're in the air. If they're in the air, soldering later on will be very difficult. So once I have the other side soldered on, now I can comfortably work on this side, not worrying that my port is going to fall through, and just make the big gap between the pins and the pads, because that is, it's not, I mean, you can do it still, right? You can still solder them, but it's just frustrating because you need to push each pin to the board, so it makes connection. So it's better not to move the port when you're soldering on this side. So this is just to hold it, and the soldering doesn't look very good, but it will in just a minute. So first, okay, pins are still aligned, all that. So I didn't put any solder on the pins, or on the pins or on the pads of the board. I do not do that. Not that it's a bad idea or anything. It definitely speeds up the process. I mean, there's many ways to speed this process up. So, but that's not my main concern. And so I didn't put any solder on any pins. So now if I touch it, nothing happens. Right? It's not gonna get soldered on. So let's put some flux on it, and 375 on the iron. Some solder on it, relatively a lot, and ground it. Now you can see there's plenty of bridging, but we want to make sure that we put enough solder, or more solder than needed, so every pin grabs as much as they possibly can, and we will remove all the excess. Okay, we have plenty of excess. As long as you have plenty of flux, the solder will go where it needs to go. Unless there's too much of it. In this case, I think it's way too much. But some of it will stick to my iron and go away. Some of it just sit where it needs to sit. Speed it up, I'm gonna remove some with the wick. You don't need to do the wick, because the iron will eventually soak all the excess. but that speeds up the process. Also, with the wick, you need to be careful not to remove too much, because you don't want to starve the pins. Okay, if there's any gunk in between the pins, this process will not be easy. And that was the issue here. Okay, now let's dry it a bit. Okay, looks like only one pin needs rework. That's pretty good. This one's floating. Okay. All right, pins are good. Now let's give it more cleaning and finish on the other side. We have a bridge. Good thing I checked, because it did seem like it, but I wasn't sure. The meter says, and there is bridge. Okay, the bridge is gone. And normally I don't check with the meter. I usually rely on visual inspection, but since I'm using a digital microscope, I can only rely on the image it produces. It produces pretty good image, but it's not the same as the actual microscope optics I usually use for this. So here it just, it didn't seem like there's a bridge, right? Or, it wasn't obvious to me that there was a bridge. That's why I checked with the meter. It wasn't obvious, but it looked like maybe there could be, and there was. Probably always best to check. Even here, everything's melted. Look, this is HDMI port, right? We have another port over here, and this is also melted. So someone really struggled with it. Well, this is how it's done. When it's done, well, at least a little better way. I'm not saying my way is the best, and I'm not saying I'm the best in my way. Not at all, but so far, every HDMI replacement that I've done worked. This is the worst one because there was damage to the board, but actually not too bad. Not too bad at all. Oh, it's okay. It went into recovery mode, but it's in Spanish. Oh my god, how do I switch to English? Well, it is working though. This was the worst PS4 HDMI replacement job that I've ever seen. I mean, whoever did it before me. Luckily, only one part was ripped off the board, and it was actually only disconnected. It wasn't ripped from the trace, so I didn't really have to retrace or anything. Because I was thinking I would have to solder on the port and then just run wires to each broken line. I didn't have to do that, so this was easily recoverable. But as you can see, it can be really messed up. This seems like an easy repair, but recently one of my subscribers we got together on Discord, and he was sharing his frustrations when replacing some connector, right? And it looks so easy on YouTube, and when I do it, it melts, the solder doesn't want to flow, the connector melts, and like all kinds of issues. Yes, so everything can be messed up, and this was definitely messed up tragically, but recoverable. Now our HDMI for this working, and this should be a working PS5, PS4 as soon as I run an update. It's probably the drive doesn't work, and that could be the reason why it's doing that. That was the problem on my previous one that also went into this mode and didn't want to work, and I replaced the drive and it worked no problem. So this is likely the same issue on this one. So I'm gonna replace the drive, put it all back together, give it a few tests, play some games. Actually, I'm just gonna give it to my son, and he's gonna play some Roblox. That's his thing, and this should be good to either be used, or I'll just give it to someone, or I'll sell it. We'll see. Okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed. This was actually very nice, successful repair. I really enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed it as well. And I shall see you in the next one.